Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition. It's a live edition, folks, of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got JC. We'll have Seth Harp in the second portion of today's program. It is Masters Week, folks. It is Masters Week. So, JC, a lot of stuff going on in the sports world. First, we'll baseball wins a series this weekend against Auburn. They win 2 out of 3. Softball loses a series. Softball now, I think, has a losing record in the SEC. I don't know what's going on there, but a lot of people were concerned about them last week. Maybe they know more than I do. The national championship game, boy, what a thriller for FAU. I felt terrible for them. Connecticut just rolled right along. By the way, you were 0-2 in your picks, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I had San Diego minus 1.5. When it gets to 1.5, you want to take the money line. And then I took, like an idiot, I took Miami. Everybody in America told me to take UConn.
No. I said take UConn, did I not?
I said everybody in America said take UConn. And that's the team. I thought when they played earlier in the year before they got into conference play that they had a real shot this year to do it because of just how tenacious they were. We talked about them back in December, really. So I think tonight they crowned them. They cut the nets down. San Diego State, great run, but they just don't, to me, they don't shoot it well enough. And I think we'll look at a low-scoring game tonight.
Yeah, we'll see. Also, congratulations to LSU, Kim Mulkey. They win, I think, the first national title in women's history there. They put it on Iowa and Caitlin Clark, but she's your player of the year. And boy, she's amazing.
She is amazing. She single-handedly beat South Carolina. But, boy, I heard some bad officiating was plaguing that game yesterday, and they pretty much took Caitlin Clark out of the game with 3 fouls in the first half, I want to say. I didn't get to watch it. I was traveling. But, the officials are not there. They're not the reason we watch these things. They're not the reason why people show up in the arena. And I don't know. To me, too many people were complaining about it, so it must have been somewhat controversial. But you can't take the win away from LSU, whether you like the coach or not. You can't take it away from them. They deserve it.
Yeah, and congratulations to Gator Gymnastics. They head to the national semifinals in Fort Worth. But I don't think Trinity Thomas, the all-world gymnast, think she's injured. I don't think she's going to participate. So, but congratulations to them on that. And as we talked about, we'll have our Masters picks on Wednesday. Wednesday's the par 3 contest. But boy, it's going to be interesting, JC, because this is the first event since the LIV and PGA Tour kind of went their separate ways that you're going to have. I think it's the first event you're going to have guys. Well, first a major, I should say, have guys coming and playing with the regular PGA Tour guys.
That's right. I mean, Dustin Johnson's the first guy I think about. Phil Mickelson, of course, because they're former champions, and the Masters is going to allow a former champion to generally come until he dies. Or until he can't do it anymore. So, this is going to be fun. I think it's easy to pick. And I think you got 5 guys with real shots to win this, but there's always one that comes through that you may be surprised about. I was happy for Corey Connors yesterday. First win in, I think, 8. I don't know how many years. It's been a while. But Corey Connors got a big win at Valero yesterday. We didn't pick Valero, did we? No.
I don't think so, because I think you skipped out or something.
I was gone on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, you were traveling. Traveling.
Okay. But
so, no, we didn't pick the Valero, but we will pick. We'll have Peachland Dental picks.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and give your Peachland Dental pick? Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. Who are you going to pick for the game tonight? You already picked it, right? UConn? I'm
not going against those guys, no. I mean, I know San Diego State's got a lot of good athletes, and they lock you down on defense, but I think UConn it's almost too easy right now. And what are they, 6-point favorites? So I like.
I mean,
They
all
beat
our wonderful listeners around the world will expect JC to have a bunch of UConn crap on Wednesday.
They're 7.5-point favorites. Now I think I want to take San Diego because I don't think you blow out a team that plays as good a defense as San Diego State. I want to say this. UConn has beaten everybody by more than 12 or 13 or some odd points. Everybody they played. I think these guys will be the most athletic team they play. Maybe not. Maybe Miami was. I'm not sure. But they sure did put a threw down on. San Diego State might score 30 points in this game. I mean, that's it. But that's a lot to lay. I still think it's Connecticut's to lose. I'll take the chalk and they'll win by 5, and I'll miss the pick. But
Tony says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, JC would have picked Corey Connors. There's no doubt about it to win the tournament.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I think we picked him at some point. We picked him at some point in some previous tournament to be there. It must have been one a couple weeks ago or whatever. But that's kind of one of those events where if you win it, it gets you a 2-year exemption, and it means something. And generally, you've got players who are trying to maintain or create a status on tour for themselves. You don't have the big guns because they're getting ready for Augusta. So we're going to have a great weekend. The Masters is here. It's Easter weekend. I'm not really sure I like that. I wish they didn't do it on Easter weekend, only because there's so much going. Families generally tend to get together a lot on Easter. Except the ones who don't believe in Easter, I guess.
Well, they can get together and watch golf. Is what their thoughts are.
Yeah, they can. I'd love that, but I know too many people who actually don't care, if you can believe that.
Dan says he was expecting you to have an LSU hat on this
one. Oh, hell no. Oh, no. There's 2 hats you won't see on this guy's head, and that's one up in Auburn, and that's one at LSU. LSU, I got into an argument with a guy at the golf tournament. We had a lot of great people from Louisiana come up to play in that golf tournament. And I love them all. But one guy was just clearly telling me 2019 was the best team ever to grace the field of college football. I said, you guys couldn't stop anybody. You just outscored everybody. I said, let me say that the 2020 team in Tuscaloosa was the better team offensively. And we went back and forth. And you really can't say one thing or another. You got NFL first-rounders on both offenses. So I don't know how you say one's any better than the other. The numbers were basically identical. One team played 10 SEC games. The other team played 13 games with 3 out of conference games. So one played in an empty stadium. The other one played before COVID. So very different circumstances. But we had a fun time arguing about it. LSU guys love their team, but they're also very honest fans. That's an honest fan base. When they lose, they'll admit it. They'll flat out tell you they suck. And they have for many, many years.
Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darlene Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker in Mount Paris, will provide you fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking of JC on the Titan tomorrow hotline, we'll have Seth Harp in the second part of the day.
By the way, shout out to my Bruins, 5th team in NHL history to get 60 wins in a season. They can break the record with 5 games remaining if they win 3 more games. Go 3 out of 5. So
I didn't even know that.
There you go.
I want to give a shout out to the Gator men's golf team.
Yeah,
they won an event in Augusta. Fred Biondi, who's plays a lot of golf with my son. Yeah. He earned an exemption. He wins it. Where's on the PGA Tour for the 3M Open? That's up somewhere in Minnesota, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, so he gets an exemption to that. But congratulations to them. And
hey, how about congratulations to that Orlando XFL team that won its first game of the year? I know you're very shy, you don't like to talk about it, but they beat the undefeated team. So the winless team beats the undefeated team. And
well, somebody told you that we were better than our record, JC.
Yeah,
I don't know who that was.
Somebody also told me up in Mississippi that he told me to take the under in the game.
Who did?
You know who I'm talking about. He also thinks Florida's terrible, and he's just down on everybody. He's down on the world, QB.
He's down on the world. Well, speaking of that, on the Titan MR text line, Andy says, Shane, was there anyone in the booth to celebrate with you after the big win Saturday? It looked like you were by yourself. There's one other coach up there. He's a defensive coach, Ronnie Lee. We just kind of high-fived and went to the elevator and walk down.
So I missed the end of that. Did they miss the field goal, or did you run out the clock? Or how
yeah,
did it happen?
so we had a 1-point lead, JC, and we're driving, running the clock out,
Right.
and one of our receivers fumbles. He's got like 5 dudes on him by the sideline. They strip him. They get it back. They go down. They fumble.
Job there.
Here's what's crazy, JC. We control our own destiny to make the playoffs. Because we play Arlington, who has 3 wins this week.
You can beat them.
We had to play San Antonio, who has 2 wins the following week, and then we have St. Louis. So if we beat San Antonio and Arlington, I think we're in the playoffs.
You go ahead of those 2 in your division, and there's 2 teams out of each division.
Anyway, we're scoring points. That's all I got to say is we're scoring
damn right.
points.
You get, and everybody gets bonuses when they win. So this has been a real nice weekend for the players of the Orlando team, and good for them for not quitting. And the coaches.
All right, I got a text here on the Titan More text line from Chris in Cottondale. He says, "Congrats, Shane, on a much-needed win. Offensively, I thought you gave him a chance. Good plays, very patient. You took your time getting down the field, controlling the ball and the clock with an occasional run that seemed to just keep the defense honest. Good luck the rest of the way." Yeah. Well, all I would say is we were 72% on third down. We had over 400 yards of offense against Greg Williams' defense. So leave it at that. I had a beat on Greg Williams, JC. I had a beat on him.
Yeah.
So kids played well though. Yeah, we had over 400 yards of offense. So we've had it the last 2 weeks. This week's a big game because Coach Spurrier, the entire entourage, is coming to Orlando because Stoopsy, Scotty, all of them will be there. So
right. No, it's a big weekend.
Speaking of that, if any of our listeners are interested in going to this game, shoot a text or shoot a text, shoot a Facebook Live. I will hook up several listeners with tickets if they want to go.
There you go. Why not?
So there you go.
When is it? Saturday night?
Saturday at 4:00 in the Camping World Stadium.
Even better. Before it gets dark. Yep. Yeah, good. So that's something to look forward to. And it's a big weekend, man. Masters. You got football.
I mean, do you think people will be tuning into our game or watching the back 9 on Saturday of the Masters?
Listen, some folks don't care about golf. They don't. They'd rather watch
You're
football.
Right about that.
I know. And so, but people like-minded like us, and most of, I'm sure, our listeners and viewers will watch the Masters, but there's a local interest now in this XFL thing. We've had it for 2 months, and I think it's going to do fine. So you got a little bit of both there, QB. You got a little bit of both. And the thing is, Sundays really, back in the day when we watched the Masters, you only got to see the back 9 on Sunday, and it started at 4:00 or 3:00 Central Time. So, it got done by dinner, and that was it. Over. 2 hours is what we really look forward to. Now it's hole-to-hole coverage, start to finish with pregame. So I mean, and then postgame lasts 3 hours because you got to eat. Yeah, but and then there's a golf channel. So we've got so much more access now.
Yeah, Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Another text just came in on the Titan More text line from Darryl. Says, "Good morning, guys. Got to love the Gator baseball team." Well, here's what's crazy. So I didn't get to see what happened Saturday, but after the game, I get on while we're waiting to take off on the charter flight, I'm looking on Twitter and stuff. People bitch and complain about Gator baseball. We can't pitch. We can't hit. So it's a long season. It's the SEC. It's the SEC too.
Right.
You ain't gonna roll right through them.
Correct. And this guy on I guess it was Friday night. They played Friday, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I picked them and parlayed them with Vanderbilt, who won, and LSU, who won. So 3 teams, right? 3-team parlay. Gators get run ruled, basically, on Friday night. I said, no, you got to come back on Saturday. There's no way they're losing 2 straight. But I forgot.
Alan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, JC, you are wrong about the greatest college team. The '08 Gators were the best team ever assembled. Ranging from preachers to murderers, several convicts, but the best team ever.
Yeah, well, that's wrong. I mean, offensively, there's no comparison. But I think the '08 Gators were great. But I'm sorry, offensively and even defensively, I mean, they were great, but they didn't score as many points as LSU or Alabama in 19 and 20. I think the team that can compare would be the 2000 Miami Hurricanes, or whatever year it was they won in the Rose Bowl against Nebraska, maybe the 95 Nebraska Cornhuskers in that era. Those were complete. I'm looking at complete teams, offense, defense, special teams. But offensively, 2019 and 2020, it's on. There's the numbers don't lie. I mean, it's pretty unmistakable.
JC, have you tuned into any Major League Baseball?
No. And, it's so early. The thing is, everybody gets excited about opening day, and then they forget we've got 162 more games to play, or 161. And opening day on baseball counts the same as a game in late July, right? But it's the start of something. It's the official start of summer in many people's minds, and that's all wonderful and good. But baseball really did itself a favor by making the games move along a little bit faster, I think, for the TV viewers. I don't know if going to the game matters anymore as much, but for the TV viewers, this pitch clock thing and whatnot, moving the game along, getting out of these 3-hour and 29-minute games is important, I think, because nobody can watch that shit. Nobody.
Yeah, it's there's 3 teams that are undefeated at 3-0. The Rays, the Twins, and the Texas Rangers are all 3-0. So a lot of day games today as well. But I've watched a little bit on TV. Obviously, I went to the Rangers opening day game. Yeah. I love the pitch clock. I know the purists hate it. I absolutely loved it.
You got to have
it. Joseph says,
got to.
A lot of people are concerned about the softball team. So, JC, you need to do some research and see what's going on with softball.
I need to find out. I'll call Sam, find out what's happening. But again, baseball to me is very impressive. And I think, LSU is really, really good. Vanderbilt, Florida, of course. Arkansas is not bad. Even Alabama plays hard. They're good. Tennessee's okay. It's a great conference, man. It's a really, really strong conference. I'm surprised at the way it's going for Ole Miss right now, the defending champs. I don't know. Are
they having a bad year?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
You think about a couple of years ago after State won it, they stunk the year afterwards. So
that's right.
I'm sure all the Ole Miss people you saw this weekend were raising hell.
Yeah, they were. And Ole Miss was last year the last team to get in the NCAA tournament, the last team in, and ended up winning it. So it really depends on putting yourself in position to just get to a postseason. And then regardless of whether you're at home or away, it's how you pitch. And that gets you to Omaha or not. And that's what Ole Miss did better than anybody else last year. So it's not over.
You've raised a lot of hell here with these listeners, JC, about these greatest team. Dan says, first of all, Joseph says he's not concerned about softball. He believes in Coach Walton. Dan says the game is called differently now and in 2019 and 2020, JC, than it was in 2008. Let the 2008 team play now, and they would have averaged as many points. And then this text.
Here's my answer to that. Tim Tebow doesn't throw the ball as good as Joe Burrow or Mac Jones. Doesn't have the ability to stretch the field like those two guys did, and did do well. And I think better than anybody we saw in college football. You're going to argue with pass efficiency percentages on Joe Burrow and Mac Jones with Tim Tebow? Tim Tebow was a Hall of Famer, but he can't throw the ball like those guys, and we all know that. He can run, he can do this, go through people and all that, beat Florida State by himself if he wants to. But he's not getting those yards, and Devontae Smith wasn't running on the side, and neither was Jamar Chase. Okay, so you want to add those up, and you compare those players with the 08s? Go ahead, Jeff Demps, Chris Ray. But Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Burrow, Mac Jones, it did not get better than that. Anybody can argue that with me.
As I said, you raised hell here because Chris from Mayaca says, was JC on the Titan of our text line? JC, were you watching the 08 Gators? The starters on offense were out of the game after the first series in the third quarter.
I saw the 08 Gators score. What did they score on Oklahoma? How many?
Not many.
Yeah.
But they won. I was at that game. What was that final score?
Who won that game? Their defense won that game. Sam Bradford couldn't score. And that's what that's the thing. We all know that. This 20 team scored 54 in Ohio State. The LSU Tigers scored 1 million on whoever it was they beat. I mean, to me, it's just, you can look say what you want. But to me, the numbers, I think, defend my position better.
All right, JC. God, something just came to my head, and I wanted you to, real quick. I don't need a long, drawn out synopsis.
Okay.
I need a quick deal on when the NHL playoffs start, and who. I mean, obviously, Boston's going to be the favorite.
NHL playoffs start a week from after this week. This is the last week of regular season. Then they get a few days off and start late next week. And right now, and the way they do it in the NHL is difficult. I won't waste your time going through it, but the top seeds in the East are Boston and Toronto is good. In the West, keep your eye on Vegas and Edmonton and Colorado, the defending champions. They're tuning up. But Boston, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and then a few others. We'll get to it when we get closer to it. I'll get you a little bit more info on
that. We got a text on the Titan MR text line from William. William says, we need to hear JC's new XFL power ratings.
Yes.
Whatever happened? What happened to his favorite team that has lost 3 games in a row?
Right. Who was my favorite team?
The Houston. I want to call them Houston Gamblers. The Roughnecks. They're 4-3 now.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll have the power ratings for you exclusively here on Wednesday. Okay. I promise we will do the power ratings, and they will be different because you guys.
All I know is we got a very good chance to make the playoffs, believe it or not. And we are second in the league in total offense. So.
Coaches who make changes and make adjustments keep their jobs. Good job.
Well, I'm not worried about keeping the job.
Not you. I'm talking about your boss, because he was 0-6 and he made a change a couple weeks ago. We all know what it was, and it's changed the whole complexion of that team. I mean, we're talking about guys, like a team that couldn't score 10 points. It's changed, hasn't it? It's amazing. And coaches like keeping their jobs because they don't want to get fired.
Yeah. So as I said, if any listeners, or whether you're near Orlando or not, just let me know. Send a message on here on Facebook, through the messenger, to the Titan MR text line. If you or your family members want tickets, I get a certain amount that I give out to people. I send them electronically. So and there's no cost. My treat. So there you have it. All right, JC.
Okay.
Early. Well, you've already kind of given your Masters pick. So,
but
did I tell you what Scotty Scheffler's Champions Dinner menu was? Did I go over that with you already?
Yes, Southern. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was outstanding. So when is that tonight?
Probably tonight or tomorrow. But we got to get into that a little bit more in depth on Wednesday.
We're getting all kinds of stats. Dan says Tebow had a career completion percentage of 66.4. Burrow was at 68.
Not career. Talking about that year that he won the Heisman and the year that Mac Jones was at the Heisman ceremony, his senior year. And the fact that you look at the passes that were thrown. I don't count a dig route to Jeff Demps or a wheel route to Chris Rainey in the same manner as who then break it in the same manner as I count go routes to Jamar Chase and post routes to Devontae Smith. I mean, I don't need to argue this. I know I'm right. So that's it.
Well, there's a million people. I'll let you go home and read about these people comparing the 08 Gators to your Crimson Tide or
2020 Crimson Tide to 08 Gators. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, look, that was the last time Florida beat Alabama. You guys can suck on that for a while. And let me know when they do. Okay.
They ruffled the peacock's feathers. All right, JC.
Okay.
Have a great day. That's JC joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Escape Apology, Visors, and the HBC's Restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. Take a quick timeout. When we come back. Here's what I do need to know. People are wanting tickets. I'm going to need to know where to send them. I need email addresses. You send me your email addresses on here or on the text line or via Facebook or whatever. Send me your email address and tell you want tickets. Hey folks, Seth Harp will be taking over. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Harp on Sports with you here, second portion, or at least the second half of PodUp with Matthews in the morning. Welcome to April. What do we have in store for you, at least on the second half of the show? National champions going to be crowned tonight, UConn San Diego State. Gators take 2 of 3 from Auburn over the weekend. And LSU, Kim Mulkey in her second year. 2 teams in the SEC in the Final Four. The favorite doesn't come out. The team that you would consider to be the least favorite of the 4 is the one that ends up winning the national championship. So what to take away? And I think that the drama after the game with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark is worthy of discussion. I really think it is, because it's not just women's sports. It's not just men's sports. It's all sports. And where we are and where we're going. Again, Seth Harp, Harp on Sports with you here, courtesy of the Titan MRI hotline. Joining you today. Have any questions for us? Fire away. Meldon Law, Facebook Live, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Okay, where to start? I'm going to start off with Gator baseball, just because it's going to be easier to pivot into basketball. Look, they scored 29 runs on Saturday and Sunday. Pitching wasn't very good. It wasn't. Pitching wasn't good. From Sproat on Saturday or Friday night all the way to Caglione yesterday, Gator pitchers couldn't find the strike zone. They couldn't. And when you sit here and you think about it, what Gator pitchers walked, what starting pitchers walked, 14, 15 guys over the course of the series? And then you're like, wow, that's a lot. And then you realize Auburn walked 15 Florida hitters yesterday. Just 15 guys in one game. I was watching that. I was there. That was 4 hours and 9 minutes of just, oh my good gracious. It was just a long, long day, a long weekend. And did Florida play their best? No. But they still won the series. And that's one of those things you have to look at. You're not going to be as sharp. You're 24-5 overall. What? 7-2 in the conference? 7-2 in the conference. And you probably had your worst weekend of baseball of the year, at least without a doubt, the worst weekend you've had of the year pitching wise, and you still win 2 or 3 in the SEC. Now, things you need to work on, but you have to look at it from, hey, at least we didn't have that series. You have a pitching rotation battery like you did this weekend. Next weekend, you're going to get swept in Knoxville. You're going to get swept. So it's one of these things like, we didn't play very well, but we won. You're not going to win every game 4-2. Some games you need to win 17-8. It's just a long day. But looking at where it was, and look, Caglione didn't have a great game at the plate, got big hits late. Well, was he over his first 4 and then finally came alive late yesterday? So it was one of those things. I think he was the only guy that didn't walk yesterday, by the way, either. But it was just one of those days where you didn't have your best, you still won. And that happens in sports. That happens in sports. But this team's, look, this team, and I heard JC and Shane debating the greatest, college football team ever. I can tell you this. I don't know how you argue that this is not the greatest Gator hitting team ever. This is the greatest Gators team at the plate, at least from what we've seen through these first 29 games. Other teams were good, and the Faedo teams and Brady Singer teams, they could throw, and that's what this team is missing. And we thought it was Sprout. Maybe it still is. But on the mound, rough night. And you're going to have those. You're going to get beat. You're going to get tatered sometimes. So, again, just looking at Gator baseball now with Gator softball, it's a concern. You're below 500. And anytime the SEC is tough. Yeah, it is tough, and you're below 500. And look, softball just doesn't have that dominant starter on the mound. Look, they're gonna go to the college baseball softball tournament. They're gonna win their regional. They have that, pedigree. They have the talent to do that. But we all know once you get out of the first round of the NCAA tournament when it comes to softball, then it becomes about pitching. It just becomes about pitching, and I just don't know if they have it. Don't know if they have it. Morning, Seth. Good morning, everybody. Love the shirt. You like that? Everybody always asks me where I got this. I got this on eBay. It was like $4. I don't know why. I saw what is that? I got that right when I moved here, or right when I took over ESPN Gainesville 3 years ago. I was like, hey, all right, during the pandemic, I'm sitting around like, all right, let's see what we got. What's this? I don't know. What's it going to look like in person? I don't care. All right, let's see. Yeah. So there we go. All right, so there it is with Gator baseball. I wanted to start off with that. Other things, and the men's tournament tonight, FAU, San Diego State, you can have a great finish, and that was a very good game. But if nobody cares about the teams and nobody consumes it, and we don't have the ratings yet for this, we don't have the numbers yet for what Saturday night gave us, then it doesn't really matter. Look, you could spend 6 hours in a kitchen cooking a meal. You can spend 6 hours in the kitchen preparing, I'm going to prepare this awesome meal. And again, and there's some people that are like this, I don't get this, but there's some people that don't like turkey. Well, if you spend 3.5 hours preparing Thanksgiving and somebody doesn't like turkey, it doesn't matter how well you seasoned it. It doesn't matter what it tastes like. They don't like it. So it doesn't matter. I love steak, and it has to be rare. Or I can go a little bit medium rare, but there's some people that cook it well. I'll never understand that. For the life of me, I'll never get that. And, we'll see what happens tonight. I don't see how there's any way that San Diego State can keep up. Anyway, I don't see any way San Diego State can keep up. And now you can start to have the discussion. UConn's run this year may be the most dominant run in the history of the NCAA basketball tournament for a single tournament. They are awesome. They are dominant. They've won every game by double digits. They won by 13. Their average margin of victory is 18, 19 points. I go back and I think of my lifetime, the most dominant teams in the NCAA tournament, not just, oh my God, this is a great team, but just blistering teams. This team has won every game by double digits, averaging 19, 20 points a win. The UConn team with Emeka Okafor, was that 04? They won every game. They had a game with Duke that they only won by a point. Was that Duhan that banked that 3 in at the end that killed the spread? So I look at that team was dominant. The Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd Gilchrist Kentucky team from a decade ago, that team was pretty dominant too. So I look at this team, the Kentucky team from a decade ago, the UConn team from about 18 years ago, and then there are teams that win the championship. There are teams that blow out teams in the finals, maybe the UNLV team, but even that UNLV team from 90? 91's the one that lost to Duke, the 90 team. that beat Duke by like 30 in the finals. What's funny about that team is that team's closest game all year was against Ball State out of the MAC. They only beat them by like 6 points. What was cool about that was, and I'm going to tie this into what UNLV did that year. UNLV wore Ball State hats to the Final Four because they had Rick Majerus was the coach of Ball State at the time. He had so much respect. They had so much respect for Rick Majerus and what Ball State did and how close they kept it that they wore those Ball State hats compared to what happened with LSU and Iowa at the end of the game in terms of respect. So, look, I just don't see – and look, was it Michael? I don't know. With Sunogo tonight, he's averaging – what did I see? When he scores 20 points, they're 19-0. Good God. So you're talking about maybe the greatest run in terms of dominance in games in the history of the NCAA tournament. Just crushing everybody in their path. And you kind of look back and say, okay, the quality of teams that they've played, but you only can play who's in front of you in this. Just complete and total dominance. So get ready. I don't see any way that San Diego State keeps this within 12 to 14 points. When this is all said and done, San Diego State's, I think they'll slow UConn down, but UConn has 5 guys that are 6'8" or taller. Just ridiculous what they do down there in the post, what they do in the front court. So if I had to sit here, I'd say probably you're looking at like 65-52, 65-51. That's probably what you're looking at tonight. San Diego State's physical and they're tough, but you can't beat on guys that go 5 deep in the front court. You can try, but you're going to run out of gas too. So it's just So just think about where we are. National championship game tonight. PodUp with Matthews in the morning is a service of Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is the promise. Beat this summer heat. Hot yesterday at the park, wasn't it? Schedule your air conditioners. Tune up today. Keep the chill in Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Give them a call today. 352-376-2366. That's 352-376-2366. Cliff, I eat my steak medium rare. Good man. It's fine. It's fine. Good for you. I always tell the students, I'm trying to teach them that, especially ladies, if you go out on a date with a guy and he orders chicken fingers or chicken nuggets or a steak well done, get up and leave and never call him again. You're wasting your time. You're wasting the time. Greg, is that a medium size? No, that's a large, guys. I'm big. I'm cut. I'm a physical specimen. I am. It may not shine through on Facebook Live, but I am. I'm a physical beast. Come on, go to the gym, hit the racks. All right, the women's game, the women's national championship game. Just to give you some numbers, I was looking this up. The Iowa South Carolina game on Friday night. It peaked listenership at 6.6 million. 5.5 million was the average. It is the most watched college basketball game on ESPN since Duke and North Carolina played in 2008. Think about that. The women's semifinal game between South Carolina and Iowa is the most watched men's or women's college basketball game since 2008. Duke, Carolina. That's saying something. That's before the SEC network. That's before, right? Is that before the Big Ten network? Think about that. And the reason I bring up those things is because you have more options today, so it's tougher to climb that arc. It is. And now your women's game that they put at 4 p.m, championship game. We don't have the ratings numbers for that. But here's a game on a Friday night that ended at 11:30, and its numbers are the highest ratings since a Duke Carolina men's game in 2008. That game, by the way, was on a Tuesday night. So you think, well, Tuesday night at Duke, wow. That's in the middle of the week in February, and the women just pulled this off. Yeah, I know. What happened Friday night? It was such a step forward It was such a step up in terms of, oh my gosh, the growth of the sport. And it's all because of Caitlin Clark. It is. I said this last week, and I will always say it because it's true. People love the name on the front of the jersey, but you win because of the name on the back of the jersey. Florida didn't win national championships in the late 2000 aughts because they played as a team. They won because they had Tim Tebow and they had Percy Harvin and they had the Pouncey brothers and they had, Aaron Hernandez, and they were loaded up front. That's why you won. Won as a team. No. It's nice to say that, but the teams that usually have the most talent win. And people love to root for the underdog because people identify more with no talent than with talent. I love the underdog. That's because you have no talent. So you root for the underdog because you perceive them to have talent. You perceive talent as a bad thing, like I wasn't gifted with this talent. So at least in that perspective, we start to see things lay out. And I saw this too, again, just to compare. The men's basketball tournament, everybody, I love the upsets. I love them. And look, we've had some arguments these last few weeks on here. I love the NCAA tournament. I can't wait. I can't wait for the Final Four. This tournament of upsets that everybody's loved, ratings are down 7%. That was going into the Final Four weekend. You're down 7% from where you were a year ago. That's not even counting the Final Four. A Final Four that had Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and Villanova. If you're down 7% going into the Final Four in terms of viewership, consumption of your product, and now, here we are, and we're looking at a Final Four that only has UConn that's not, it's in stores. There's some interest here, but even though they're about ready to have more national championships than any other team in their sport in the last quarter century, it's just not that household name. So everybody talks about how they love the underdog. They love the underdog. You don't watch them. You don't watch them. You may love the upset, but then you don't follow the teams that pull off the upsets. Hate watching, hate consuming is it's actually more valuable than love consuming. I always try to tell people when it comes to when I was hosting shows or, look, I don't care if you like what I say or don't like what I say. I just want you to consume it. I never would make something up on the air, ever. Or say something just to say it. You want to, you're like, oh, shock value, shock jock. No, just tell the truth. Nothing's more shocking to people's system than the truth. Which leads us to the next thing. And I talked about like how fantastic the women's Final Four ratings were. The fact that it's the highest since any game, men's game on ESPN since 2008. When you're talking the women are doing better than Duke Carolina games from 15 years ago, you're saying something. Well, then you get into this. You get into what happened yesterday. LSU deserved to win the national championship. They were impressive. Score 100 points in a women's game. It's always been, I always talk about this with trepidation when it comes to like women's sports on the radio or talking about them during shows or high school sports, because you can't give an honest deception. You can't give an honest perspective on high school sports or women basketball without sounding like you are criticizing kids or women. Like if I come along and we're talking about men's Final Four, and I'm like, oh, they didn't execute and they didn't do this and they didn't do this and they struggled and they fell apart in the fourth quarter. You start doing that with high school teams. High school, how dare you pick on those kids? So I said it's almost impossible to talk high school sports more people talk about high school sports on the radio, because if you offer an honest assessment, you're going to get destroyed. You can't be fair. You can't. You can pump rainbows and sunshine, but you can't give an honest assessment. You just can't do it. So I was sitting here and I was thinking about the women's game yesterday and watching everybody's reaction to what Angel Reese did and how you can't offer up an honest assessment of what happened in that situation. People are getting destroyed. Doug Gottlieb, I'm watching different sports figures like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, look at Clark did it. It's fascinating that you have this big moment. And the Final Four was the success that it was in women's sports because of Caitlin Clark. If you had 4 no-name teams there, you wouldn't have watched. The fact that Caitlin Clark played, stars are not only big, gigantic balls of fire with helium and oxygen and hydrogen, their gravitational pull is what draws you in. And Caitlin Clark drew everybody in. But following that game yesterday, I wanted to show you this. The Angel Reese quote, because I think it's important. She said, she is there to stand up for what everyone believes. She was told last year, she's there to stand up for people that believe in what they believe in. People called her too hood, too ghetto. Other people don't say anything about the other teams when they do things. She's there for those that are unapologetically you. It was bigger than me tonight, talking about the win over Iowa. No, it wasn't. It wasn't bigger than you. You made it about you. The minute the game ended or when the clock was winding down, you followed Caitlin Clark around the court with Can't See Me Now, John Cena, pointing at your ring. If it was bigger than you, you didn't make that moment about you. See, this is where it gets tricky, right? You're going to host sports talk shows, and it's one of those things that up until like 8 or 9 years ago, we always talked about how women's sports and high school sports were off limits in terms of conversations because you cannot be critical of them without offending people. Like men's sports, you're like, oh, guys can handle it. Go get them. Go get them. High school football, not high school football, college sports, go get them. Go get them. You can offer, go get them. Go get high school. You can interview coaches, but don't talk about the games. Don't talk about effort. Don't talk about performance. Don't talk about strategy. Just interview and, you can't offer honesty. With her, what she did, and it's funny because people are like, look what Caitlin Clark did. Yeah, Caitlin Clark, looking at her teammate after she hit a big shot against South Carolina, did the whole, look, can't see me now thing. You're telling me that what she did in that moment is different or is the same as a player when they're up 13 and just won the national championship, following somebody around the court for 20 seconds, trying to get in their line of sight, doing that point. You're telling me those two are the same thing? You're telling me those are the same thing? Like, well, she did it. Well, she did it to her teammate. And then this is what I think is funny about this, that after the game, you need to put some respect on us. You just won the damn title. The respect used to be winning the championship. It used to be winning the championship. And I know people have got their antics, right? Let's face it. Steph Curry, probably the best three-point shooter ever. He hits a shot, he shimmies. So when people score, they shimmy against him. That's fine. Okay. That's fine in that moment. But it's this thing that it's generational. It is. It don't tell me it's not. This is generational. Winning a championship. Oh, my teammates, I get everybody together. And people get up on stage and be like, this LSU women's basketball team, what Kim Mulkey did is absolutely amazing. But you win a championship and your first thing is to get up on stage and go, respect me. It's like, you just won the damn title. What? That's not respect. The hardware is the respect. You just won a championship. What else do you want? What? You better put some respect on us. You won. What? Isn't the handing you the trophy the respect? Isn't the championship the respect? You better put some respect on us. Who didn't? Where was the lack of respect? What, you mean the greatest three-point shooter in the history of your sport was getting more attention than you were? You won. You take it. You win. Hey, we won. And you could have come out and said, look, we get it. She's great. But we felt that we were being shadowed. We took that personally, and here we are. You can say things like that. But when you're chasing people around the court and the whole thing, then this whole thing, and again, when you hear things like, I'm unapologetically me. Well, if you're a turd, to what end? when does that stop? I'm unapologetically me. So, okay, well, when do we hit the brakes on that and say, all right, you've crossed the line? People always used to say this, I'm keeping it real. I'm just keeping it real. Well, okay, I'm just honest. I'm keeping it real. I'm just a competitor. Okay, does that mean in a wheelchair basketball game you're blocking shots? I'm keeping it real. Does that mean you're taunting at the Special Olympics? You're booing? What, I'm keeping it real, unapologetically me. To what end? At what point do you stop that? Greg writes in, winning isn't enough. You got to disrespect the other team. Greg's right. That's 100% accurate, Greg. 100% accurate. It's not enough for me to win. It's not enough for me to win a championship. I have this ethos about me that I win, and me holding up the trophy is enough for me to win. But no. I've got to rub it in your face that I won, and then go on TV and have this mythical attack machine that, yes, everybody, I'll never forget when the Patriots went undefeated. I'm going to go down the back alley here for a second. When the Patriots went undefeated and they lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl, was that 08 or 7-08? I'll never forget Wes Welker after they beat the Giants in the regular season to go 16-0. He was on, I think it was the NFL Network set. And he said, no, people doubted us. Nobody thought, nobody believed in us. It's like, nobody believed in you. You're Vegas picked, you're the favorite in all 16 games this year. What do you mean nobody believed in you? But what? Georgia did that after they beat TCU, right? Georgia, Stetson Bennett, they win the national championship, and you have Georgia football players that said, for all the doubters out there, doubters? Damn number one team in the country. You're the defending national champions. What do you mean doubters? What do you mean doubt? And by the way, you're lucky that Marvin Harrison Jr. got hurt. But okay, doubters? What? You picked a win and you won. To all the people out there that didn't believe in it, didn't believe in you, you're ranked number one. Yeah. Dan, LSU only lost to South Carolina, Tennessee. They have their respect. And that's just it. People have to create, and I get it. People have to create in their own mind that the world's out to get them. That's how, okay, how do I fight through? How do I get through this workout? I get that. I understand that. Everybody would perceive, even the hardest workers, Michael Jordan, like you talk about the guys that Kobe Bryant, they're in the gym, 4 a.m. I get it. You need to create that edge. You need to create that chip. But this whole thing that again, Angel Reese, she's getting a lot of flack today. A lot of flack. Think about how much more she could have done for herself by walking up to Caitlin Clark and putting her arm around her and say, "That's a hell of a game, man. This has been so wow. Thank you for enjoyed playing against you." Oh no, we don't do that, because somehow showing respect is a sign of weakness. Respecting your competition is a sign of weakness now. Look at the women's game. I was looking at social media last night. This is dominating the conversation. So when you win a championship and nobody's talking about you winning the championship, they're talking about what you did after the game. And then you say, this moment was bigger than me tonight. No, you made it about you tonight. Again, LSU, look, there's a lot of people that win. You tip your hat and you win. Say, good job. But if you're up 40 points in the fourth quarter and you're throwing Hail Marys, or you're throwing halfback passes, you're running reverses. Well, I don't think anybody runs reverses anymore, right? I think linebackers are too fast now. But it's one of these things that, good for you. I just, hey, everybody has an ego. Everybody that thinks that what they cheer for should win. I get it. But this whole Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese thing, and it's one of these things that I just have never, in a championship mode, when your first thing on your mind, when you win a title, is I have to go talk trash to that person rather than to celebrate it with your teammates. It makes it hard for me to root for you. It does. And I love stars. Nobody loves stars more than me. I'm the biggest advocate. I'd much rather watch Caitlin Clark in Iowa. And by the way, for all the ladies out there that I didn't get respect, You're not going to get respect when you play on the court as the greatest shooter ever unless you win. And then you win, and the respect is the winning, but the respect isn't the winning. The respect is talking trash to somebody. We've entered an era now. And you see this in Congress too. People do like different meetings when they're on Capitol Hill and they're having conversations and they're doing inquiries and they're doing 30-second, 45-second sound bites with charts and video bites so they can be on the MSNBC and Fox News that night. They don't care about that interview. They just want to get their clip so they can be on TV that night. Yeah. Come on. Again, a wise man once taught me this. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So there you go. PodUp with Matthews in the mornings. We wrap up here. Brought to you in part by QC Kinetics. If you have joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. Not surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics with locations in Ocala, now open in Gainesville as well. 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. Greg, unapologetically me equals I'm an a-hole and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, that's right. You win. People that win get to write history. They won. They get to be a champion. Good. Good. But just think about what that moment, think about who you, again, really quick. Think about who you're trying to impress. I try to tell these students in college journalism all the time. Who are you trying to impress? Smart people or stupid people? If you're trying to impress stupid people, don't. So there you go. Everybody enjoy your Monday. UConn wins by